Welcome back, America. Joining us now, I can say this honestly, one of the most consequential investigators in all of the United States House of Representatives. His work on the House Administration J6 subcommittee the last 2 years redefined what we learned about January 6th, what truths we were denied, and now he's the chairman of a new subcommittee in House Judiciary where we're beginning to dive into what the law enforcement did and didn't do on January 6th. Joining us right now from the great state of Georgia, Congressman Barry Loudermilk. Congressman, good to have you on the show.
John, it's always good to be with you and Amanda. I mean, you guys are out there getting the truth to the American people.
Well, we're grateful, and we couldn't do it without you and all the hard work you've done. You fought for this committee. We have this story this morning, documents that you and Jim Jordan have been able to get from the new director, Kash Patel, and obviously they raised a lot more questions for me than they answered. You've got an FBI lab that can't explain how bombs were sitting for 16 hours but only had a 1-hour timer, didn't explode. And then you have a woman who says, wait a second, that 16-hour bomb thing doesn't work for me because I walked by the location, it wasn't there, I came back from laundry, it was probably only there for an hour. Tell us what you make of this new evidence.
Well, one thing, John, is if we had an FBI that was actually helping us last Congress, we'd be a whole lot further down the road now. Right. But I want to reemphasize, these are documents that we're getting from this FBI, not the previous FBI. They are being forthcoming because they want to get to the bottom of these things just as much as we do. And yeah, we were able to get a lab report of the pipe bombs, which is something that has been a mystery to all of us, always trying to figure out all the different nuances that just did not make sense. I mean, there were so many factors of these bombs. How could a highly trained Secret Service bomb-sniffing canine walk by these devices without hitting on them? I mean, law enforcement just letting people walk by. And so a lot of times we were just speculating what were these devices. And I remember another reporter asking me one time, he said, well, we understand there were egg timers on there. And how do you place an egg timer that only goes for an hour the night before without it exploding? And so I started talking to some, former explosive ordnance disposal specialists that I know. And one of the things that's interesting is they said a lot of times an egg timer will not be used as the primary fuse, but a secondary. In other words, use an electronic timer with a particular, it's basically a digital clock that has a specific time for it to go off, and you use the egg timer as the override. In other words, you set the regular timer, and then you connect the wires to the egg timer for 60 minutes, gives you plenty of time to get out of the way. When I saw that made some sense to me, right?
Sure.
But when I saw the lab report, there was no electronic timer.
Yeah. It
was only this 60-minute egg timer that was wired to cause these bombs to explode. So there is no way, if they were placed the night before on January 5th, which is the story we've been told, they were not set, the timers weren't set till later the next day. So whoever placed them then had to come back. Okay, I'm not buying the story anymore that they were there on the 5th. I believe that they were put out on the 6th at this point. This is the theory that we're going on, especially since the lady that found them said there were still 20 minutes left on the timer when they were placed there. That's one of the key things, as you brought up. The other thing is, was there enough explosives in the devices to actually cause a massive explosion? That's one of the things we're looking at in these reports, which kind of leads us to believe maybe there wasn't, but there definitely was explosives. Now, follow me on this series of logic here. When would you build a bomb that's not designed to go off, but every element of it is to make you think it will, or make a bomb-sniffing dog think that it is a live bomb? That's a training exercise. So that also opens the door to that. Was this possibly part of a training exercise, or were they put there just to be a diversion to draw resources away from the Capitol? So there's several scenarios that we're looking at with both of these devices. Some of it were there people around who knew that these were inert? They were not active. There's nothing I've seen in the FBI report that says that they could have exploded. They just say that there were traces of explosives in there. So there's more questions, but that's a good thing that we actually have more evidence to have more questions to open the door to do more investigation, to get to the truth.
Yeah, definitely.
Mr. Chairman, as with any big city, but especially our nation's capital, there are very few square inches of this city that are not covered with cameras. And I know that this has been a huge source of question and concern during this, because the cameras, from what I remember, they tilt and pan. So there really should have been complete coverage of what happened. What's the status of that footage?
Well, we do have the Capitol Police footage from the cameras around there. They really don't show the locations of where the bombs were placed, as well as the cameras that were on the DCCC and the Republican Republican club where the first bomb was placed. And so there's plenty of coverage around there. As we started in this committee, one of the first things I want to do is we got all access back to all the cameras again. We're going to scouring all the cameras like we did before, knowing that, you know, the Capitol Police cameras, the ones that were there may not have been panned in the right place at the right time, but either way, they weren't in the position to really get a good shot of where those bombs were placed. But the DCCC did, and the Republican Club did. So I now, under this new idea, everybody's focused on January 5th. I want to look at who maybe came by within the hour of when the bombs were discovered, or any time that morning on January 6th. The problem is no one has any video footage of January 6th. Now, I can understand that the Republican Club and the Democrat Club, their security cameras overwrite. But would not the FBI or Metropolitan Police, Secret Service, Capitol Police have asked for the video footage of January 6th? And I'm finding out that the FBI never did ask for January 6th video footage. They only asked for January 5th because someone in a law enforcement agency told them, oh, we know what you need to look for. You need to look at January 5th because this person in the hoodie, that's who you're looking for. I think that's pretty bad. It's poor investigative duties. I would want to have all the footage before, during, and after to see who was there. But apparently no one preserved any of the footage for January 6th, which is another element for us to look into. Why not?
Wow.
Oh boy.
All right, I want to go to one other thing that's missing, the geospatial phone records for who was around the area of the bomb. So your team and you have dug up something really interesting. The woman that finds the RNC bomb, and she seems very cooperative. She was on a laundry run, right? But she works for a company, or she works for the program FirstNet, which is the First Responders Telephone Network. She was at the Commerce Department at the time. Who handled the phone records requests that got corrupted and now we don't have any data left?
Well, it's actually the company she worked for, which is an interesting coincidence there. All right. So we have a situation where the FBI is going out looking for geofence data. So they send out, I think it was within a few days of January 6th, they send out a preservation letter to all the major carriers, preserve all this data. Basically what a preservation letter does, it says, we're investigating something. We know we got to get the lawyers to go through the law and provide you with the documents or subpoenas, whatever you need. In the meantime, while we're getting all the lawyers do their work, do not get rid of this data. That's what a preservation letter does. And it actually specified with latitude and longitude these areas of that we're investigating. And so that letter was sent. And so we presume that the FBI got some generalized geofence data, but then they wanted more specific data near the pipe bomb area. So when they went to AT&T, they were sent for some reason to FirstNet, which is it's actually an organization that was set up via Congress after 9/11 that gives first responders priority cell phone service and data. So if there's something big going on, you and I may not be able to get a phone call through, but the first responders can because they preempt everyone else's phone calls. So FirstNet handles that first responder network, their phones. For some reason, AT&T says FirstNet's who you need to go to get this level of data. FirstNet goes in to download that data, claims that, and this is something else we're looking into, they start on January the 11th claiming that data is going to be overwritten. Okay, they're claiming the data is going to be overwritten at midnight that night, even though they'd already received a preservation letter. So they have to hurry up and they end up overloading the server, and the server corrupted all that data. This is what I'm having several issues with that, formerly working in information technology, also working with high sensitive data within the military. That stuff you generally hang on to. We talked to one carrier who said, look, we still have all the data from the Oklahoma City bombing. That's the kind of data we hang on to. Wow. Why, after receiving a preservation letter, and why would that level of data be automatically deleted anyhow in that short a period of time? These are questions I have. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying these are legitimate questions we need to be asking. What is the relationship here? Is the person who found the pipe bomb works for the company that corrupted the data, and then they tell the FBI the data wasn't corrupted, then they tell the FBI that the data was corrupted. So this is a mess that we've got to unravel.
Yeah. It really is. And the good thing we know is you're going to be asking the right question, because you have for the last 3 years. That's how we got so much of the evidence we already now have. Mr. Chairman, a great honor to have you on the show. We're going to be watching this very closely. A lot more work ahead of us. But thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you, John. Let me just say, with the Democrats on there, this is something everybody ought to want to get to the bottom of, because Republican, Democrat lives supposedly were at risk that day.
That's right.
And so we should be working together on this.
Absolutely. Even the vice president-elect, Kamala Harris went right by the bomb. Yeah, it's such an important thing. Mr. Chairman, thank you as always. Great honor.